car is out of alignment. So are your chakras, your mind, your soul. Your car runs on more than just fuel and oil. It requires math, precision. Aligning your car can feel like summoning a mythical being. It requires big machines with lasers and computers. It's a DIY job that most of society accepts as impossible, tucked behind a veil of uncertainty. How hard could it possibly be? What are they hiding from us? Wake up, wake up, wake up.
Alright, I'll admit I'm being a little dramatic about this, but that's mostly just because doing a DIY alignment isn't really something that I planned on doing or wanted to do. What are you doing? Hi. You just come to get dog hair on me? The city that I live in seems to have a bit of a problem, and it's that nobody can align this car. Or maybe they took one look at it and said, hell no, I'm not touching that, which... fair enough. I've called every single alignment shop in town, and basically either the car is too low, or the custom parts would cost extra, or they just couldn't do it, or they just didn't want to do it, or whatever. The first shop I called said that they have a brand new alignment machine, but that it's broken, and that it's going to be too expensive for them to fix, so they can't align the car. The next shop I called said that the car is going to be too low to fit on their machine, and that was that. There is one shop in town that has a low profile lift that would fit this car. However, they damaged my brand new methods when I put them on my truck. So I don't really feel like giving them my business anymore. All of these shops informed me that by having custom parts, such as the extended lower ball joints that I installed to fit my new extra wide wheel fitment, could dramatically increase the price of an alignment anyways by almost twice as much. That leaves me in a bit of a pickle, because this car that's supposed to be like a fun weekend go-kart is more of a chore to drive than anything else right now. After going through and overhauling my bushings, changing out my tie rods, and installing these extended lower ball joints, I have basically completely reset my alignment, and it is now non-existent. I didn't really get to match anything up with the way things were because I maxed out the camber on the adjustment bolts and also added the extended lower ball joints, which changed the way that my tie rods would have lined up for the toe, and it's all gone. It's all completely reset. I fully expected this. I knew this was going to happen. I'm not really upset by this by any means. I just didn't really expect that I was going to have to fix it myself. I think Darty is an understatement. This car wants to turn into corners and kill itself. And driving in a straight line feels like I'm balancing a top with my steering wheel. I almost started thinking that I installed something backwards just because of how bad it was. So what do? Doing your own alignment is a pretty daunting task, mostly because if you just get one little thing off, your car could be crab walking down the road. So as much as I would not recommend doing your own alignment, I'm going to show you what I did and how I did it. There are three major angles to consider when doing your own alignment. In case you're unfamiliar, camber is the angle of your wheels vertically. So this right here that you're seeing, this is camber. Positive camber, you're not really going to see a lot of. It's usually on heavy-duty trucks, more stable in off-road environments and uneven terrain. Negative camber is something that you've probably seen a lot of, this included. This is a little bit on the extreme side. It's mostly used for stability in corners and traction, because when your car leans, it leans into the angle of the wheel and pushes the tire into the ground more. And then there's the extreme cases that you've probably seen as well if you've been on the internet or to any kind of car shows, where people try to push their suspension geometry to their limits and show off how good they are at math. To make sure that my tires weren't going to rub in the wheel wells with these extra wide wheels that I bought that stick way out, I had to max out the camber on my suspension, and that's what the extended lower ball joints are doing in the front, because it needs to be able to tuck in a little more as the wheel turns left and right, and I don't really want to shred a tire on my wheel wells. So hopefully I don't have to mess with that too much. Toe is on the other axis. or the angle of your wheels horizontally. Negative toe, or toe out, is what I suspect this car has a lot of. Generally, negative toe is used for cornering responsiveness and is less stable in a straight line. Positive toe, or toe in, is better for straight line stability, and it makes you can make your car look shy. Lastly, there's caster. Caster, you really don't have a lot of control over. This is the angle at which your front wheels can turn. Most cars have a slightly positive caster, which means that the top of the steering axis is just behind the bottom, you know, top to bottom. We're talking like the spindle, right? So this is above my pay grade. I'm just gonna be honest. Hold on. I looked it up. Puts the point of contact on the tire in front of the steering axis. This, of course, gives priority to the self-aligning rotational torque of your wheels, which is why your wheel wants to straighten out usually when you're turning, because of the rotational torque. Okay, rotational torque. The rotational torque, self-aligning torque, okay? Negative caster, 2 words, shopping cart. Now there's a slight chance that I messed up the caster just a little bit with the extended lower ball joints. On a car like this, the only way to change the caster angle is to pivot the control arm back and forth, and that very slightly shifts that lower steering axis point. So I don't think I'm really able to even do anything about the caster in this car. I mostly just wanted to be informative, but that's a measurement that I don't really get to have control over, and I'm not really that worried about it. Possibly the hardest part about aligning this car is that the front and rear track widths are different. So even though I'll be building a reference square around the car, I'm going to need to do something a little bit special to find a reference point. That's where this guy comes in. This is a 2-way laser level that I stole from work. It's the only thing that I have that's going to make this job a little bit easier. On the surface, it seems very complicated. And then as I was kind of reading more into it, it seems very complicated. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna follow a write-up. Sheldon's DIY Miata alignment. Shout out to Sheldon. He goes into like getting the wheels like perfectly level with like a tube going across each wheel and some water in the tubes, and he's like measures that out. I'm not gonna go that crazy with it because I just need to get this thing driving straight enough, and I don't have the tubing. He's got kind of a stock setup, and I've got clearly not a stock setup anymore, whether I like it or not. I should have gotten some bigger blocks, I guess. Sneeze. Sheldon says to jounce the suspension a little bit, get it to jounce it. Suspension has been jounced. I'm gonna try and get my phone under there enough that you can see what I'm doing. Now, how do I get you to stay? Nope. That was close. So apparently this is not a level surface. So I almost just backed the car right into the garage door. And I'm just glad I wasn't like wrenching on the car while I was doing that. I'd be a dead man if I'd let that roll right into the garage door. Oh, come on. No pain, no gain. Back on the horse, buddy. Do things the right way. Wheel chocks, handbrake. Make sure the handbrake works. I just adjusted those this morning. You can't adjust the camber without having the car on the ground, because obviously when you lift the car up off the ground, the suspension is just going to hang, and that changes the geometry. So you're going to adjust your camber to, you know, incorrect specs. These are some pieces of hardwood. I think this was for a cabinet shelf. These are pretty slick. So this is what Sheldon did in his write-up. You take 2 of these and you set the car down on them, and it allows them to kind of pivot a little bit as you adjust those camber bolts with the car sitting on the ground. This took me and my friends 6 hours. Uh-oh. He's got like a camber measurement tool. I don't got any of that. So we're kind of just going for it. That's my style. While I'm just, you know, stuck with not the proper tools. So first things first, we got to find that center line. The desired thrust line is the center line of the car. This is measured not from the body, which isn't positioned accurately enough with respect to the suspension pivots to be useful, but rather to the suspension pivots themselves and the midpoint between them. I mark the thrust line by jacking up the car and measuring between the suspension perches and scribing a center line between those perches on something which should be visible when the car is sitting back down on its wheels. So that's the plan. Center lies somewhere right in here, but there's nothing there. I mean, there's the center diff, but that's way far forward from where I need to be marking it. And in Sheldon's write-up, he's got a couple of like cross braces that I don't have. So instead what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this laser level, 8 and 9/16. That's dead center in the back. Right there. And just for good measure, I'm gonna do one more. So we've got our marks in the back, and now I gotta go do the same thing in the front, and then we can line up our marks. Crazy. I was crazy once. He locked me in a room. So I'm gonna get back under the laser, and I'm gonna burn an inch. I don't have a plumb bob. Now I see why he wants a plumb bob. Okay. We're at 11 and 15/16, maybe a fuzz under. When we come to the front, we are a solid half an inch, almost exact half an inch in. This wheel, we're at 14 3/8, and then at the front, roughly the same spot. Oh baby, we're at 14 3/8. We're solid. Love to see it. Let me guess, half an inch out. 1/4 inch, not as bad. That's probably too much. You're never gonna get it perfect without like a laser machine or a lot of plumb bobs like Sheldon did. I'm sorry, Sheldon. I'm doing this much worse. That's gonna be as good as I can get it. That is a huge, huge change already. To tighten this back up. Don't forget that. I guess you know what time that means. Man, I hope that solved at least some of the problems. I see rain coming. We gotta go. This is gonna be a pretty quick drive, and I'll show you why. I can tell you right now that I can already feel the difference, so I'm already pretty stoked about that. I can drive straight, more or less. Pulls a little tiny bit to the left. And I think that's because while I was adjusting it, I was like pushing on the wheels, you know, when the wheels can't freely spin back and forth, even though I had them on those like plates, they probably, I noticed my steering wheel would be a little bit turned every time I came back to check it. Just need to make a couple of little tiny adjustments. It's also a little bit unstable on like the highway. Like when I'm going highway speeds, it's a little bit jumpy. Like there's just like a couple of times where I have to correct it because it kind of wants to veer one way or the other. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's like sway bars. I don't know if that's just like I got the toe wrong a little bit. Yeah, so I don't know. There's some tiny adjustments that I can make, but for what I have been able to do without a proper alignment machine, I think that that's a relative success. I think that that's as much of a success as I'm going to be able to call it for this without actually taking it in somewhere and having an alignment done. You know, I kind of was rushing through it because I was on my very limited garage time privileges. And look at this. I'm going to turn into this corner and I'm just going to let go. Okay, it doesn't straighten itself out that quickly, but it doesn't want to keep turning, which was my biggest problem. So I think my toe's a little out. I think that that's what that all means. So just little tiny adjustments now. Officially, handling. Everything about handling on this car is done. Now, unfortunately, there will be no hard pulls in this video like I usually like to do. As fun as this car is, the engine itself has just kind of felt like it's been on its deathbed since I got the car. I'm shocked that this engine even still runs, to be honest with you. Even now, Coming up, unexpectedly, we are going to be diagnosing some engine problems. I have a feeling that one way or another, this engine is probably coming out of this car, which is something that I have to learn how to do because I've never pulled an engine before. So stay tuned for that. In addition to that, I obviously still have a lot of plans for bodywork, paint. But here comes the rain. As you can see, my makeshift garage here is probably not gonna withstand much more of this weather. We've got winter coming in full force, and I got to get this thing out of the rain somehow. The project videos, I just want to give you guys an update. If you're here just for the Miata, I just want to let you know that these videos are probably going to slow down significantly during these winter months. I need to make sure that this car is wrapped up pretty tight, because even though I did put a new roof on it, I don't trust it. I bought it off of AliExpress for like $80, and we'll get to that. I'd love to do a sort of update video to show you guys everything that's been done so far and kind of get you up to speed on all the things that I never really got the chance or the time to document. I hope that you'll stay tuned even as I kind of pivot here and start doing some other things while the rain comes through. Probably won't be doing any kind of paint work or pulling an engine in this rain, but that doesn't mean that I'm out of things to do. Hopefully I'll get the next video out a little quicker than this. Hey buddy, yeah, it's raining. Yeah, we gotta get you dried up and get you out of the rain. So for now, thanks for watching.